Simon Told Helen wins a half length. Zach Manelli second.
Welcome to Greyhound Gossip.
Peaky Blinders start cheering for Tommy Shelby wins the WA Sprint Championship final.
Featuring Peter O'Neill.
Mozza moves up to Mermaid Manelli. Fab's Gem 3 deep. Here comes Fab's Gem.
Hard stole Rico by 5 lengths to Simon Told Helen. Third Tommy Shelby.
This segment is dedicated to the discussion and promotion of greyhound racing.
Cindy's Oliver, Rockstar Patriot, Paul Stewart, back-to-back with Rockstar Patriot in the Galaxy.
Handsome Prince, a bolder clear. The former Tasmanian Handsome Prince has won the $1 million chase.
Smooth plane. Have a look at the speed from Where's Poppy and booting over Uncle Tommy and holding the rail. Cluster. Oh, it got awfully squeezy and Cluster held the lead. But have a look at Miss Envy. She got the best run you could ever think of. Miss Envy takes over now. Cluster's a length away. Deep out was Uncle Tommy, railing hard. Smooth plane. Midfield might have been. They break clear from Sweet Sundown and Chapel Road. Miss Envy the leader. Smooth plane's coming. Miss Envy and Smooth plane. Miss Envy digs and wins. Oh, what a win. Miss Envy from Smooth Plane and Might Have Been. What a cracking finish in the final. Fourth goes to Cluster. Then came Uncle Tommy, Sweet Sundown, and it was amongst the tail enders. The time's around 30 and 20. Miss Envy.
Yes, Miss Envy from WA, successful in the National Sprint Championship final on Saturday night at Angle Park. Very good morning, everyone. What a weekend it was for WA Greyhound Racing. And again, WA to the fore. They have now won 4 of the last 5 conducted National Sprint Championships going back to 2018. Of course, in 2021, during COVID, the Nationals weren't held. Tommy Shelby might have won those 2 as well, so we could have had a better record, but WA has just dominated. Sage to Neil last year, Premium Share in 19, Western Augie back in 2018, and the New South Welsh Greyhound Good Odds Cash won at Wentworth Park in 2022. But it was all about WA and all about Miss Envy and Steve Shinners. It was an interesting build-up to the race, and I'm sure that he would be glad that it's all over and still coming down from Cloud 9 as we talk to Steve Shinners this morning on Greyhound Gossip. Steve, from everyone in Western Australia, in the greyhound industry and the racing industry across WA, we congratulate you and Crystal. What a wonderful effort it was by your wonderful little bitch in Miss Envy taking out the National Sprint Final on Saturday night at Angle Park. Good morning.
Good morning, Pete. How are you going?
It was a big build-up, but, it was a big night, and I'm sure you would have been glad it's all over because of the fact of, which we'll get to in a moment, the lead-in and what you had to go through with Miss Envy to get it to the final.
Yeah, it was a very, very traumatic week, I think, and, just to get there was an effort, and, look, it was an amazing night, as you know, and, just listening to that replay then just made the hairs on your back stand up. It was, it was an awesome run, and just to know what she'd been through for her to lift like that was just incredible.
Can you go through what it was like, the race? We heard the race call there where there was some trouble on the first corner and Uncle Tommy couldn't get across, was taken out by Cluster, and that run came. But it takes a good greyhound to be smart enough to and courageous enough to take that runs, and Miss Envy was able to do that.
Yeah, look, Pete, she's just one of those dogs. I think we've watched her enough now to learn that she manages to put herself in a good spot most times. And, she was getting buffeted early, and it was probably a bit of a blessing because if she had have been on the outside of the one going through the corner, I think she would have got hit as well. But to work out where she had to go at the high speed is pretty good, and very intelligent dog. You can't teach them that. So it was just, when I seen her come out in front, I thought, oh, here we go, we're a big chance now. And, just going on what had happened to her, we knew she wasn't 100% right, and there were some very strong dogs chasing her, and to hold on with it, just a huge effort.
Well, let's go through, the issues that she's had to go through. So, first of all, she qualifies at Northam. She comes across from box number 6. Her brother was the favourite in that WA final. It was rich in quality, and she was good enough to be able to qualify. And then you decided to take her and her brother across to South Australia. Just for those that missed the story, tell us about the difficulties in what you had to go through with her and being able to travel across to South Australia to get her to trial.
Yeah, well, as it's probably documented, we only got home the night before from our holiday and quickly jumped on the plane and headed across and trialled. So it was their first ever flight away for young dogs. It's a big effort. They've only had like 10 and 11 starts, and they travelled across okay, not brilliantly, and we only arrived at lunchtime, and she came out and ran sensational. She didn't handle the corner great, and some of the track watchers there says one of the quickest runs that they've seen a dog go first time there, which was very heartening. And so it was great. And we stayed at Stuart and Shirley Barber's and stayed there the night, and we're heading back the next night on the Friday night. And we just put the dogs in the transit depot, and I get a phone call to say that the plane's been delayed an hour and 20, and we didn't know at the time, but there were some massive storms in Sydney, and the plane actually left 2 hours late. So we finally got on. The dogs had probably been in the hold for about 3.5 hours by the time we boarded, and we're just about ready to take off, and we missed curfew. So apparently they couldn't take off, and then we get taken off the plane, and nobody contacted us. We left our own devices at the walk 15 minutes back to the depot, get the poor dogs out. They'd sort of, by the time I got back there, it was 4.5 hours. They'd been out in the cold sort of thing, which wasn't ideal. It was a cold night, and poor dogs were stressed out, and we had to catch a courier back to where I'd stayed from, because it was sort of 4 or 5 hours since they dropped me off, and wake the people up that I'd stayed, and then try and get a flight back the next day. So by the time that they arrived back home on the Saturday afternoon, they were well and truly exhausted, as well as me. I don't have any sleep, and Transcendent was really bad. She wasn't great, and I sort of resigned myself to the fact that we're going to be in a bit of trouble, and she didn't sort of really improve until basically Wednesday night, and even Thursday, we weren't 100% sure. And by Thursday afternoon, she'd sort of sparked up a bit, and we'd tried everything we possibly could to fluid them back up and that. And, made the decision late Thursday afternoon, booked the flights for Friday, and then we flew across, and then I get the dog out at the other end with Qantas, and the bloke comes out and tells me that the crate tipped upside down on the flight, and which I've never had before, and I'm just, I've run over a black cat somewhere here, and so luckily we can do manipulations and that, and straightened her back out, and she seemed quite happy apart from the incident, and we got out the Stewarts, and she scratched up, which was good, and had a good night's sleep, and the rest is history, as they say, but I wasn't confident, that's for sure.
Well, you've travelled greyhounds before, and for us, general public, and for us that follow the greyhounds, especially from WA around the country, we take it for granted that you put them on a plane like humans, and they get off and they do their best as they do from home. And I was talking to Tony Zammit, who had Val Pellicella, the $1 million stake earner and one of the favourites for the national distance earlier on. He was stuck on the Gold Coast tarmac, I think it was, for around about an hour and a half. They took the greyhounds off. They had to wait for a part to be trucked down from Brisbane, and all the delays. And then after the race, Raiders Guide, the winning trainer, Gary Fay, was mentioning that, they got caught on the tarmac as well with Raiders Guide in Melbourne. So it obviously happens regularly, and it must be real worrying time for trainers of greyhounds.
Oh, 100%, Peter. It's so frustrating. I mean, once they're out of your sight, I mean, it's great when you live close enough to drive. They're always under your care, but you put them on there, you don't know whether if you got turbulence or the plane lands bad or something happens. And it is really frustrating because we've got to pay a lot of money. Most of the time, it's a lot more expensive than our own flights to lodge the dog. So you would hope that that'd be taken a bit more care of. And then, unfortunately, delays happen, but that can happen to anyone. But when the dogs can't get out and they're stuck in cages for that long, it really upsets them. And every dog's different. Some handle it, some don't. And with more experience with flying, the dogs get used to it. But you can fly them 4 or 5 times and be fine, and all of a sudden you'll have a bad flight and the dog will turn up and it's lost a kilo, or it's been put next to a little animal or something and it's got worked up. So it's very hard.
Now, I know you're originally from Victoria, but we call you a West Australian now, and Miss Envy definitely West Australian, the fact that she was bred here. I didn't realise the Victorians and New South Welshmen take it so hard when they get beat. So went up to celebrate afterwards, and gee whiz, there was some long frowns and long faces that WA had won again.
That's it. Well, I was just going to ask you that, actually. I think we've been here 10 years now and we've won the National, so am I now officially, me and Crystal now officially West Australian?
Oh, 100%. 100% you're West Australian, definitely. You're not going back. How did you celebrate?
Look, it was a fairly quiet night. Crystal's on a stint up in Karratha at the moment, running a hospital up there, saving lives, and I had the kids back home, and as you know, it had been a pretty traumatic week, so a couple of quiet beers, but look, when Crystal gets back, we're all going to go out and have a big night and celebrate. It was an amazing experience, and just, the way it happened, and without the family helping, we couldn't have gone, but it was a massive thrill, and it's just one of those things that some good stories to tell later down the track.
Well, you've been around greyhound racing for a long time. At the gala ball on the Friday night, Jason Thompson was named the Australian Greyhound Trainer of the Year, a leading Victorian and Australian trainer, of course. You've been around many outstanding greyhounds, many outstanding trainers. What does it mean for you when you can actually win a national sprint final? Because you go back over the years from, the eras that you came through, and, there were some great Victorians that won the race, including In the Frame, and I think it was Pure Octane was from Victoria, was successful. Fabregas and Zalia Allen, Fernando Bale, of course. There's been some outstanding Victorians that have won the race, and the prestige of the race is very important in the greyhound industry. What does it mean to you as a trainer?
Yeah, look, it's just a massive thrill, and I grew up with all those people like Paul Westerveld, and he's a really good mate of mine, and Jason Thompson and Cal Greeno and all those people, and to have those sort of people around at that function, it sort of made you realise how big the event was, and just to get up there and speak in front of those people. I don't usually get nervous speaking, but it was like, holy hell, there's a lot of dignitaries here tonight, and just to come out and win, and it's on the national stage, so every state knows about it. And it's a massive thrill. And Crystal was apparently in the hospital, and she put herself in her room, and she yelled that loud that apparently security came and said, "Are you all right?" And she goes, "I've just had some really good news." So
good on her.
It was it's a massive thrill for everyone, and the kids were screaming at the tally, and a couple of our friends who are not even in the dog, but I've got a video there, and they are screaming. It's just priceless at the tally, jumping up and down. So it means a lot to a lot of people, but that's why we get up every morning 7 days a week, and the good, the bad and the ugly, as they say, and it makes it all worthwhile when stuff like that happens. It's really good.
Yeah, well, Sharon was screaming as loud as Crystal was, I think, and it was very exciting for us there, although a little disappointing later not to be able to celebrate like we have done in years gone by, but that's beside the point. Miss Envy, where does she go now? There was all talk that obviously the fact that she'd won the national sprint in South Australia, she would go back there for the Oaks, but that might not be the case because we've got some rich prize money on offer here in WA.
Yeah, it coincides with the Mandurah Cup, so if I can go in the heats and I don't make the final of the Mandurah Cup, we can probably go back over there. But, I thought the prize money was a lot better for the Oaks and Derby over there, and they do tell me that they might be putting it up. But, so that was the plan there, and I just got a message from David Brash last night saying that she's actually qualified through to the semis already, got an exemption to the $1 million chase. So, which makes that probably a tantalising thing. So, I mean, she's only very young, but it means that we don't have to travel away for too long. We'd probably have to go up there, give her a couple of trials or a trial and a race, and, at least we're not sort of stuck up there for the 3 or 4 weeks of the series. So that sort of gives us a bit something to aim at. So we'll sit down and she doesn't get home until tonight, the little girl, because there was no flights out yesterday for the dogs. So I had to zoom home myself. But, we'll sit down when the dust settles and analyse it. But, there's a chance that we could go back to Adelaide. And obviously we've got the match race series or the time trials, which would suit her down to the ground. And I think that gives you an exemption into the Adelaide Cup. So we might have a trip for that. And then, we'll just let her do her own thing on the way through, and she'll tell us where she's at.
It's a wonderful story. You meet a young lass from America. You call a young pup Miss America after her, and she becomes a star. We thought we saw one last year that you had from Miss America, and this one looks like she's going to be better. And you've got a couple around her as well, her brothers as well, that are very, very smart. Very proud of you. Great for West Australian Greyhound Racing to win the national sprint final again. And I know it's going to be a great ride for you and Crystal over the next few months, wherever you decide. Hopefully we get to see her in WA, but I'm sure there'll be some riches on the East Coast that you'll get to travel to. So all the best. And again, congratulations.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks so much.
Good on you. So Steve Shinners, and it was a wonderful night for WA Greyhound Racing there on Saturday night. We'll talk to... in a moment, Brennan Ryan from Tasmania. Of course, it was a big night for Tasmania, and he will also go through the gala events that were held by South Australia, who did a very good job covering the Nationals this year. And he'll go through some of the Hall of Famers and some of the award winners as well. It was a big night at Mandurah on Saturday night. We had a track record run, although if you're watching on Sky Racing over in Adelaide, you wouldn't have seen it. It's remarkable how Sky Racing can miss so many races from WA at the moment. Hopefully management get onto that. But it was a wonderful win in the Peter Thomas by Crumble Manelli.
390. Racing, Crumble Manelli came out on roller skates, led from Wise Barra, Sunset Mirage, Sunset Callisto, Bungee Man, Shy Emoji, Sunset Comanche, second last and wide, and Emerald Guard is last. Crumble Manelli took off, led by 6, Bungee Man building momentum on the rail, Wise Barra the outside, then Sunset Comanche. Here comes Bungee Man, Crumble Manelli 3 ahead, Bungee Man's flashing home, Crumble's clinging on, Crumble Manelli, 1 length Bungee Man, Wise Barra, Sunset...
Well done to David Hobby. He's done a wonderful job in being able to get this greyhound back to the track. Had a few injury concerns, but he is really flying again now and defeated Bungee Man in the Peter Thomas on Saturday night from Mandurah. The other feature, of course, across in Adelaide was the running of the National Distance Final. We're about to be joined by Brennan Ryan from Greyhound Clubs Australia and from Tasmania. He'd be a proud Tasmanian Greyhound participant this morning, and he was on Saturday night when Raiders Guide took out the National Distance Final, the first ever time that Tasmania has won the National Distance Final.
Jumping quickly into the inside was 90 Mile Rose also showing.
Oh, that's not the replay. We will get the national replay up for you from last Saturday night and replay that for Brennan in a moment, but he is about to join us online. Brennan, good morning. We were hoping to have the replay from Raiders Guide, but you'll certainly be reliving the moments in your mind as we speak with you this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Peter. Yes, no, it was a fantastic win and a real kick along for the Tasmanian industry to see a locally bred dog, go on to the national level and, create history in one of the most iconic races we have on the greyhound calendar. And for connections around the dog, Gary Fay, the trainer, his daughter Carol Martin, who have, worked together tirelessly to make sure this dog's at his successful level that he has been throughout his whole entire career. And, to get our second ever national winner and also our first national distance championship was just an outstanding accomplishment.
Tell us, were you born when you won the first one? I think it was back in about 1984. Busy vintage.
No, that was a little bit before my time. That was busy vintage with David Croswell, but that was, that made both dog and trainer a household name in Tasmania. But to get the second one on the board, 40 years apart, mind you, and there's a little bit of an insight to the national distance. Gary Fay actually prepared a dog called Lygon Leader, who ran second to Tengatars in the 1983 National Distance Championship, which was conducted at Hobart, and ran second in that race. So 41 years on to eventually turn the tables and get the job done there was a result that I think the family will certainly live on for a long time. You never, how do I put it? You never look away from winning races like that, and it's an accomplishment that connections will it makes things worthwhile. That it's a small kennel, small state, but a massive accomplishment.
It certainly is, and he was well backed, and he got across from box number 8, and he was, as I said, well supported on the night. So what does it mean? I know what it means for WA and the success that we've had, especially in recent years, and how hard it is for little states like us to be able to win national finals. What does it mean that Tasmania takes out the national distance final?
Look, we don't have the races that are programmed like most states have to build dogs up over 700 metres. So you've got to strategically plan how you get a dog well prepared for the series. The Connections took that on notice what they had to go through, and he's been back and forth. He's contested races over on the mainland, so his fitness levels were up. Once he got through those runs, there was 3 or 4 700 metre runs he was able to obtain here at Launceston. And then, it was just the groundwork, the fitness levels, and then, to travel all the way, it's not just a direct flight to get the dog across. They've had to go from here to Melbourne, then across to South Australia, and then obviously, they made the decision to fly back again and then fly back over for the final. So the dog's had consecutive trips all in a row and, trialled on the track, and it can take its toll on the dog, but it's, it's something that most people, we don't have the calibre or class. We've had a rare few dogs go through like this, and for a dog to do what he's done at that level, to win 2 Group 1 races is, it's just outstanding, and it's, very chilling to think that Tasmania can produce those efforts like that, and, we take it with immense pride. Everyone does it might be the Fay family that trains the dog, but the Tasmanian industry takes pride to see a dog like him achieve, great things.
Here's Raiders Guide.
Out Aunt Virginia was beaten for speed. Zinfandel traces third last from Val Policella, 9 or 10 off the leader. And Ritzer Piper last of all, the Tasmanian Raiders Guide. He led by 4 to West on Booney. Starting to wind up Phase Magic, but they've still got 5 or 6 to make up on the Tasmanian Raiders Guide, looking to bring it home for Tasmania. They've never won this race before, but they're going to win it this year. Raiders Guide 7 lengths in front. What a win. Charging home, Ritzer Piper got through for second.
Yes, brilliant victory by Raiders Guide in the final, and well done for Tasmania. And he looks like he's got, in staying ranks, a really bright future over the next 6 to 12 months.
He certainly does, and, there's a bit of a quarrel where they go now. Obviously, we're a bit light on with races, in some respects. We don't see the major Group 1s come on now in the staying races towards the spring and summer period, so the connections will map out where they go to. But I think at this stage he's possibly going to head to the Meadows for their carnival later on in November, October period, and he's got the option where he can either, if he gets the nomination, to go into the Top Gun Stayers, or they have got their hearts set out on being in the Hume Cup again, which the dog finished a gallant second behind Hector Fawley this time last year. So hopefully he can rewrite all errors there and get the job done and possibly pick up a third Group 1. But look, the dog's getting towards an age where he's going to be he's more of a senior dog, but this is a period now where you enjoy and you just target things strategically, and they're going to, really enjoy this next couple of months. But it's just a moment that we'll never forget as a whole for the industry.
Fantastic. And you wouldn't forget also, especially with the nerves, leading out Sweet Sundown, a greyhound that represented Tasmania for your father, Patrick, and you were able to lead her to the boxes there on Saturday night. She didn't have a lot of luck, but you would have certainly been proud that she made it through to the Rich final.
Oh, look, we took it all on experience. We never went over there thinking that we were going to win. We've got a great opinion about her ability. Look, Tassie form doesn't really put her in the spotlight on a national respect, even though she did make the national sprint final, but she needed to go through the travel and being away from home, and she ticked all the right boxes. And look, when you're placing her in the boxes, a lot of people don't pick up on things, but she handled herself really well, and she's got a thing where once she gets into the boxes, she puts herself into a starting position where, we know what she can do. She's a reliable beginner, and, everything went what we wanted to plan. Just, as you said, bad luck in running, but we'll come away with our heads held high, and she'll come home and go in I think it's the ladies' bracelet here in Launceston, but possibly later in the year we'll head to Queensland and have a go at the races like the Rising Stars up there at Albion Park. So, but, really proud of her achievement.
Just running out of time, Brennan, but I appreciate you coming on Greyhound Gossip this morning. Can we quickly go through the winners at the Gala Ball on Friday night that South Australia put on? First of all, Palawa King named the Australian Greyhound of the Year.
Yeah, a well-deserved win for Errol Smith. For Jack Smith and Errol Hughes. Greyhounds won 5 Group 1 wins over his career, and over $1 million in prize money. He was just a deserved winner of the award, and still up against the likes of Val Policella, but a deserved winner of that. And then obviously Fernando Barr with the Sire of the Year. Palawa King's mother, Maximum Doss, won the Brood Bitch of the Year, and then obviously we had Jason Thompson with Trainer of the Year, and the 4 Hall of Fame inductees with Judy Hurley, Mark Long, Jan Wheeler and Brenton Scott. 3 women in there that have done so much for the industry, and Brenton Scott, who we all know was there at a very vulnerable period for greyhound racing, not only in New South Wales but for Australia, and his services and contributions, what he's done throughout his whole administration career, will never be forgotten, and to get him this accolade is so well deserved.
And well done to Kevin K.D. Douglas as well. He won the Denise Fish Award for his dedicated work in South Australia, especially up around the Mount Gambier area. And Hector Fawley's win in the Sandgroper was judged the run of the year as well. So it was a really good night there on Friday night. Well done to South Australia and putting on a wonderful effort. They've got a great state, and it was great to get out to Angle Park there on Saturday night, especially when WA wins the sprint and Tasmania wins the Stayers final. enjoy the week. Well done with all you've done with putting out the media releases during the Nationals. There's lots of exciting greyhound racing coming up over the next 3 to 6 months, so we're looking forward to having you update us on a weekly basis with that. Enjoy the win on Saturday night.
Yeah, no, thank you, Peter, and also to yourself for the coverage you've given, for the WA runners. And, I think overall everyone involved in media have done a tremendous job to really promote the Nationals and all contenders involved. So, onwards and upwards to next year. And, we're, as you said, the revolving door of races is coming through, and we're plenty of excitement to come.
Good on you. Brennan Ryan joining us from Tasmania, wrapping up the Nationals, and WA again successful. So they've won 4 of the last 5 runnings of the National Sprint Championship. A break, and then Tim Walker will be back with Off and Pace.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.